Hello, folks, and welcome to the Vertigo Tea Party and Tea Time. Today, we're going to talk about Peter Molyneux's interview with Rock Paper Shotgun's John Walker and my overall thoughts on how the interview went. If you're not familiar, just a very short background. I will have a link to the interview below. John Walker of Rock Paper Shotgun interviewed Peter Molyneux about a week ago, and it was very, very pointed. And if you're not aware, Peter Molyneux is most well known for his games Populous, you could say, and also Dungeon Keeper, but you could also say he's most known, recently at least, for promising a lot of stuff that he doesn't deliver on. It's happened with pretty much every single game he's ever made, but starting with Fable is really where he got the negative reputation of spinning things and making it sound like it's going to be amazing and coming out with games that weren't necessarily bad, but were far, far lesser than he made them out to be. Basically like the PR problem of 2014, but he's been doing it for 20-something years now, so he's got a lot of experience doing it. So, a few things, full disclosure. Again, I will have links to all relevant articles in the description below the video, so if you want to take a look at them yourselves, you can. Secondly, again, full disclosure, I don't like John Walker, the guy who interviewed him of Rock Paper Shotgun. I think he's a twat. But you know, I try to approach everything as even-handedly as possible. But again, I will say I don't like him. I don't think he's an idiot, but I think he's kind of a dickwad. But also, Peter Molyneux, I feel pretty much the same way. I think Peter Molyneux's mostly incompetent, and he over-promises on things. Not really a big fan of his. So just to get that out of the way. So the interview itself, if you haven't read it yet, it's very, very long. It'll, depending on how quickly you read, it can take at least 15 to 20 minutes to read the entire thing, if not longer. Again, it's very, very long interview. I think it took place over an hour and a half, if I recall the timing correctly on that. But mostly the interview was about Godus, the Kickstarter game that still has not had a true full release yet, as well as the individual who won the curiosity contest that has pretty much been all but forgotten by the team at 22 Cans, the company that Peter Molyneux, I'm pretty sure he's the head of that company. But Godus was a game that was supposed to be a spiritual successor to Populous, the game that really got him on the map. And it was asking for £450,000. That'd have been a very easy Kickstarter. £450,000. It ended up making £526,000. And there was a lot of promises made about the game. And one of the big ones that's hit on multiple times in this interview, and rightly so, by the way, was that it was only going to take them 7 to 9 months to complete this entire game. Now, first of all, anybody who had any knowledge of Molyneux at that point should have really taken a step back as soon as they saw Peter's name tied to it, but also as soon as they saw the line about it only taking 7 to 9 months. 7 to 9 months to finish a game that was supposed to be pretty major. Let me actually read the exact quote from the Kickstarter. Godus will take 7 to 9 months to complete, but if we exceed the amount of funding we're asking for, we'll use the extra to enhance the game further and support additional platforms, which will add a little more time to development schedule. Now, the Kickstarter for Godus ended on December 21st, 2012. Today is February 18th, 2015. The game is still in early access, and I have not played it myself because I know better than to spend money on a Molyneux game. But from pretty much all reports, it's very, very lackluster. It's not all that interesting, and it's missing a lot of the features that were promised in the Kickstarter. And one of the people who is kind of in charge of Godus now, who originally was only a backer, but now has actually worked his way into the company, which is in itself very impressive. Kudos for that. But you know, he's himself said he's concerned that a lot of the major features that were announced won't even make it in, including Linux support. Like Linux support, because like the engine doesn't even support, or the engine they're using doesn't even support Linux. So that might not even come to fruition. That was one of the stretch goals. So yeah, it's in the bad shape. And let me say this right up front. I think it's about damn time that somebody in the game press finally really took one of these developers to task face to face in an interview. Wasn't throwing softball questions, wasn't kind of beating around the bush or asking a tough question and going, oh, okay, well, anyway, let me ask you about something that makes it a little bit less awkward. I think it's about time somebody really put the pointed questions to him and say, look, what the hell's going on? Why does this keep happening with you over and over and over and over, where you promise the world and then deliver, something very much less than that? What the hell's going on with Godus? You say that, it's 2 years, it's like what? Now it's like 12, no, it's over 24, 25, 26 months late now. And now you, Peter Molyneux, have said you are going to be focusing on another game, the Trial or the Trail. I think it's the Trail. And you haven't even finished the game that you did the Kickstarter for? Like, what the hell? So I'm glad to see that this happened. I was first made aware of this interview from just Twitter rambling. And as usual, I know how Twitter is, right? Twitter tends to overreact to anything. And I saw people talking about the interview, and at first, I just saw kind of general, like, oh, he got interviewed by Rock, Paper, Shotgun. I was like, oh, okay, well, that might be interesting to read later. And then I saw people responding both like, wow, that was like an intense interview. And some people were like, oh, he went too hard on Peter Molyneux. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, how is that even possible? I'm like, that guy deserves to be taken to task. So finally, I got a chance to read the whole thing, thinking, oh, people are just overblowing this. It's not a big deal. And I have to say, I think John Walker did an absolutely juvenile job, like just completely unprofessional job of interviewing. Now, first of all, I don't really care about professionalism. Like, right, I don't get hung upon it too much if somebody's not professional, depending on the circumstances. I'm okay with, him not being totally professional in an interview. That part's fine, but my God, this interview reads more like somebody picked a random angry person in a Reddit AMA and let them do write up an entire interview. This reads more like somebody's personal blog than a professional video game website doing an interview with a developer. A well-known one at that. And again, I'm not saying throw him softball questions. Absolutely hit him with the tough questions. When he dodges, follow up, make him answer. Be tough about it. But don't, at least, hey, let me just read you some of these quotes. If you haven't read it yet, I strongly advise you read the entire interview. But let me get some of John Walker's quotes to Peter Molyneux. The very first line of the interview, and we'll go over this in a minute, but the very first line of the interview is, do you think that you're a pathological liar? Let me read that again. His very first line in the interview, do you think you are a pathological liar? What kind of tone do you think that's going to set for the rest of the entire interview? It's going to be very negative, and the person that you're interviewing is going to be on the back foot. They're going to be very defensive for the rest of the interview because you're attacking them, whether you feel you are or not. And he knew damn good and well that he was. But they're going to feel like they're being attacked. They're going to feel like they need to defend themselves. They've backed into a corner. They know that every single word they say is going to be posted on a popular website. So now they're going to feel like they need to defend themselves against being called a pathological liar. And your job as an interviewer, especially in a case like this, is to get as much honest information as possible and as many important questions fully answered to the reader's satisfaction as possible. How good of a job are you generally going to do when the person you're interviewing immediately feels like they have to protect themselves? That line alone is just, The fact that he thought it was a good idea to start off that way is absolutely mind-blowing. He really comes off, again, it comes off as a blogger, and he's got an axe to grind. And I know that that statement gets overused these days, but he really did come up like he has a burr up his ass, and he really wants to crucify Peter Molyneux. He repeatedly calls him a liar. Like, just flat out calls him a liar. Let me some other quotes here in the interview. Let's see. I think this industry would be better without your lying a lot. Another quote. At Res 2012, you said that what's in the middle of the cube is so valuable, so life-changingly important, I don't want to waste the value of what's inside the cube. And then John's part, could you have done more to waste it? And like, the interview was just filled with this. This is not cherry picking. There's multiple times, again, he calls him flat out, calls him a liar, says that he's lying. Look, I don't like Peter Molyneux, right? I don't like him. And maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I don't think he's a liar. I think he's incompetent. I think he does a piss poor job of managing people's expectations. I think he does a piss poor job of project management. I don't think he's necessarily a liar, though. I think, and he mentioned this interview, I think when he says these things about you'll be able to plant an acorn and grow a tree in Fable and, all this stuff that he said, I believe that he believes that, right? I believe that's what he's going to try to do. I don't think he's trying to sell snake elixir to people. He's not selling. He's not a snake oil sale. Snake oil, not snake elixir. What am I talking about? I don't think he's lying. In other words, I think he's, like I said, I think he's all that other stuff. Delusional. I think he's bad project management. He promises way, way, way more than is currently available. He gets too excited talking about his games. I get that. I still, again, think he should be accountable to that for that. And I don't like him because of his history of overpromising, under-delivering. But at the same time, that doesn't make him a liar. Just because I don't like him, just because he's saying these things that don't become true, doesn't make him a liar, right? And that's why, that again, that's just such a piss poor job of Walker of coming across in this interview. Even if, all right, let's say I agree. Let's say I agree with John and I said, okay, I think you're right. I think this guy is a liar. And let's prove it, right? Let's make him out to be a liar so people see that he's a liar. You don't come out and say it right out. You be a little bit more subtle, right? You don't just come out and just keep calling him a liar over and over and over again. That's not how you do it. And he didn't prove him a liar at all in this interview. And, he's definitely been wrong on a lot of things. And of course you could argue that, oh, well, he knew some of this stuff and he's just lying about it. Whatever. We're not going to agree on that one. So, whatever, agree to disagree. We're not going to prove that he's lying or not lying, whatever. My personal opinion is that he believes these things and they're not lies. He's not consciously lying just to get more people to buy his game or whatever. But, so Walker keeps throwing these accusations at him. And one of the lines that really struck me as quite humorous was near the end, Molyneux was, again, understandably defensive. And, he's complaining that, man, it looks like you want to drive me out of the industry. It looks like you think the industry would be better without me in it, which frankly I think is true, but that's beside the point. And Walker says, I've done nothing in this interview but quote back things you've said and done. No. What? You called him a liar. Repeatedly. You've said, you flat out said, could you have wasted these other opportunities more? Put things in as negative light as possible. So to say that he's only been quoting back things that he said is total bullshit. He knows damn good and well what he was doing. Now, why did Walker do this? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know if he was just trying to get the hits, because that seems to be what game journalism focuses on a lot these days, is just getting the clicks. And it worked, by the way. Apparently their site went down for a while because so many people were reading this and everybody's talking about it. Hell, I'm talking about it now. But you know what? I don't think that's the case. I don't like John Walker, but I don't think he would have done something like this just to get the hits, in my opinion. I think that it came off to me more as somebody who was like self-righteous and very angry. Like he was angry for himself. He was angry for gamers as a whole. I think he honestly believes that Peter Molyneux is just a liar, maybe borderline scam artist, and he's just ripping these people off. And you know, robbing that one person who won the curiosity contest. He's, you know, robbed him of this great opportunity that, you know, he had promised. I think he's mad about all that. And I feel, and again, personal feeling, I feel like he was just using this as an opportunity to kind of rip him to shreds. And as a quote unquote professional game reviewer person, you should handle yourself better, right? Again, this is not a blog. It's not a vlog. This is a gaming website. And yes, I know I said, you know, being professional, I don't put a lot of weight on it in general, but the way you're presenting yourself, I don't know, it just the presenting of himself in this is, I'm doing terrible wording it. But long and short, he did an absolutely god-awful job of interviewing. He did a terrible job of representing his website, Rock, Paper, Shotgun. And I think this could set a bad precedent because we really needed more of this, though. We needed more journalists to do this, to ask these pointed questions, these developers. I want to see some pointed, you know, questions of like Tim Schafer, right? Like everybody's kind of like, well, you know, that space game he canceled, that kind of sucks. And yeah, he took like all that tons of money and then only made a like 3-hour half, you know, very forgettable adventure game, but yeah, you know, it's okay. Now, obviously, to be fair, some sites did, you know, hit him pretty hard, but I want to see in interviews, look, again, put their feet to the fire, say, look, how did you blow this much money? How did you blow these opportunities? This type of stuff needs to be done, and it needs to be done, but it needs to be done in a fair way, right? Or these these developers who know that they might be in trouble, or you know, or might be asked these or put in such a negative predicament, might be less inclined to do an interview. Do you think any developer who has any concern about some perceived bad behavior in the past is going to do an interview with Rock, Paper, Shotgun, or specifically John Walker in the future? Probably not. They're probably going to avoid that at all costs, just because they don't want to be put into a position like this. And again, you know, don't misread this as me being in the corner of Molyneux. I'm not in either one of these guys' corner. I think I'm glad that Walker and Rock, Paper, Shotgun just went on a more direct path. I think the way they did it was incredibly immature alone, not to mention unprofessional, and just unclassy. I don't know if that's the term that I'm thinking of, but it's just a bad way to do it. Again, when your goal is to get information out, you shouldn't be openly being hostile to the person you're interviewing. Now, to be fair, it seemed to work anyway, right? He did get a lot of information out of Molyneux, but I was expecting at any moment for Molyneux to say, you know what, this interview's over. And he very well could have done that at any moment. And a lot of people would have been, and he would have been partially justified, frankly. He would have been justified even from the beginning when he calls him a pathological liar and Walker just keeps pushing that he's a liar. He would have been fully well within his rights to say, you know what, this interview's over, boom, we're done. But he stuck with it. So, you know, that's why I don't want to see this type of ridiculous approach taken by other sites, other YouTube channels, whatever, that do these types of interview. And again, at the same time, I'm glad to see Molyneux finally made to answer for a lot of this stuff. I mean, he's answered here and there in other places, but it's nice to really pull out. I mean, we saw a lot. Peter Molyneux talked about a lot of stuff that I found to be, you know, interesting. like how he knows how the industry perceives him and all the talk about him and all this. Because sometimes you wonder, like, are they just kind of in their own little Prince world where they never like hear it, or they just completely let it bounce off of them? He obviously has heard it. And, and Molyneux did say, I've got a problem with overhyping my games. I'm trying to avoid talking to the press too much just to avoid that, and that's, good on you for that. All right. Good on you with that. Now, of course, he's probably going to be even less inclined to talk to the press, but the takeaway for this, at least I hope for him, is to say, all right, you know what? People are getting tired of my shit. I need to put up or shut up and just say, look, I've got a new game coming. It's going to be pretty cool. It's this type of game. I hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you in a year, 2 years, or whenever it's done. And don't come out and say it's going to revolutionize this and it's going to be, as amazing as my first game was. And leave all that shit to the side. Just put your nose down, work hard on a game, get it out. Don't jump ship before the game is complete, for God's sakes. And let your game speak for you, right? Let your game speak for you. Make a great game, and everybody else will do the talking for you. You won't have to worry about it. So that's, I think, hopefully would be something that Molyneux takes away from this. And again, I hope that other gaming press outlets, or whatever you want to call them, I hope the takeaway for them is going with the hard-hitting questions, not letting them dodge, making them answer questions is good. Doing it in the way that it was done by Rock, Paper, Shotgun is not. So anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say about that the interview. I really want to do a tea time talking about Kickstarters and early access in general, but that is for another time. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to leave comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of this this interview and my commentary on it. Again, all links to relevant information will be in the description below the video, including the interview itself, of course, the Godus Kickstarter, and some other articles that I've found along the way. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.